I'd imagine there weren't a whole lot of folks that probably would have pegged an early May weekend series between Stanford and Arizona State to be a series that would match the top two teams in the Pac-12 conference standings, and yet here we are, and here it is this weekend, ready to take place. So, what do you think are some of the primary qualities that have enabled your club to remain in contention all year long for a Pac-12 championship?
Well, I think the biggest thing is we found ways to win. We've won some close games this year where that wasn't the case last year, but it's been something different. I know our hitting's been pretty consistent all year long, but it's always been a different guy. Early part of the year, I thought we were throwing the ball better. We had some 1-0 wins there against San Diego State and against Washington State. I thought we won some close games, but this group is resilient, as you know, and they just don't quit. And they find a way to win, and the best thing is they pick each other up. So I think combined with that and the culture change of what Coach Bloomquist has brought, I think in many ways, like you said, not many people would have thought, but I think we're a year ahead of where we anticipated to be when we took over this job.
Yeah, you mentioned that to us on the road a couple of weeks ago, and I think that's a spot on point. This is probably about a year ahead of schedule where you are right now. And as I look at your team and broadcast these games, to me, the most compelling aspect of your play, it incorporates a lot of the qualities you talked about, but it's this team's uncanny ability to come from behind late and win ball games. ASU has trailed in 17 of its 29 wins this year. Sunday's 9-6 win at Oregon marked the fourth time this year that the Devils have won a game in which they trailed at one point by five or more runs. Where, in your opinion, Sam, do these kids get the qualities that enable them to do that?
Well, I think it starts at the top. It starts with our head coach, and he preaches not to give up and mentality, and that's kind of what we recruited. We had a big turnaround in our roster this past year, and some people might have thought it was a little bit of a shock how many guys we were bringing in or let go into getting themselves in the transfer portal. But it was about recruiting the makeup and the mentality, and I think it's showing. These guys don't quit. They have a love and a respect for of the history of ASU baseball, and they want to live up to it. And I think the biggest thing is as you look and the hitters have come from behind. There's no finger pointing. They know that we're just trying to keep it close and give those guys a chance to do what they do. So, in many ways, it's been absolutely one of the most entertaining team I've had in 18 years of college baseball. That's for sure.
That's a great way to put it, entertaining, because that they have been. And Sunday's game at Oregon was a perfect example. After a couple of tough losses in the first two games of the series to the Ducks by scores of 11-5 and 16-10, which resulted in ASU's first and so far only Pac-12 series loss of the year, your team comes back on Sunday. They're trailing 5-0 and haven't gotten a hit yet through 5 innings, and yet 2 innings later they're leading 7-5. They win it 9-6. To me, that was a huge character win.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it showed. I think one of the if you want to point to how we're winning games and why we're a year ahead of the curve is you could look no further than a guy like Luke Hill and his performance from day to day. That Saturday when we lost pretty handily, he was I think he was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts before coach took him out of the
Yes.
game, and he comes back with a 3 to 4 hit game, a home run and a double to get inches closer. I mean, that's showing that these guys are able to brush bad things off from day to day and just continue to work. So, if you want to look to see how we've won some games, is no, you could look no further than the character of a freshman that we have. He goes 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, comes back the next day and helps us win a crucial game on the road.
Absolutely. That's Luke Hill, the freshman shortstop from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Another guy that kind of falls in that category, I think, Sam, is Ross Dunn. He's been your
Hmm.
Friday starter most of the year, has struggled the last couple of outings, so he was pushed back to the Sunday start this week. And even though he didn't get credit for the win, I thought he gave you 5 really solid innings on the mound and gave your team a chance to come back and win. How did you assess his performance, and what's your take on where Ross is right now in terms of his potential to give you more quality innings down the stretch?
That's a great point, Tim. Here's a guy that came pretty highly touted with us and did a good job, at the beginning of the year and hit a little bit of a rut here. and he had two choices. He could have complained about being pushed back to Sunday, or keep working and give our team a chance to win, which is what he did. And he went 5 innings, and most people forget that he also went the first 2 innings of Wednesday's Fullerton game.
Right.
So, we had to be careful with his pitch count. We're monitoring those guys' pitch count. I think he could have gone a six, and he really, he gave up 3 earned, and they weren't loud. They were soft, hits that were finding holes. And at one point I looked up there and I'm like, golly, we got hit around the last 2 days. Now the ball's just finding a hole. It really didn't seem like it was going to be our weekend, but he stayed with it. He was tough. He kept pitching, just getting as many outs as he could, and turned over the ball to the bullpen, to Owen Stevenson, who's obviously done a great job, and Piveroff. And then our offense just gave us a chance. They came back again, gave us a chance, and put us ahead. So I completely agree with you. Ross, just unsung hero a little bit. He did a great job, and I talked to him today. He's got a bullpen on Thursday. He's going to go on Sunday again, and he hasn't complained one time about it. He just keeps saying, whatever you need me to do, I'll do. So that kind of shows you the character of the team and what we're trying to build here in the future. We're trying to get that. I think you get that from some of our freshman arms too, that don't get a chance to show themselves as much during actual games, but we just threw some live hitters with our freshman arms down there, and they do what we ask them to do as well. So that's building a culture down the road. And I think most people would agree that our offense is really strong. And guess what? Those guys get to face those guys, on those midweeks, on those Wednesday
Hmm.
practices. So they're getting prepared. They're going to be okay. They're going to be okay in the future. We just got to get them prepared for what's to come.
Sam, I would contend that your offense this year is borderline elite with some of the numbers they're putting up, but not just the numbers they're putting up, but the quality of pitching that they're doing it against. A 309 team batting average, second best in the pack, 22nd in the nation. The Sun Devils have hit 73 home runs this year, one behind league leader Oregon. 13 home runs were hit by Arizona State this weekend in the three-game series in Eugene against a good Oregon pitching staff. And the previous week, you won 2 out of 3 and scored 10 or more runs against a program renowned for its pitching in Oregon State. I mean, to me, that's almost your offense is bordering on the elite. How do you feel about the way this offense has come along?
No, I agree. I think we have more explosiveness, which was a definite point of emphasis for us. I thought that in the Sun Devil recent past, we've had a lot of sluggers, but a lot of high strikeout numbers. So I thought when we went out this summer, it was to get a more athletic type of player that there's going to be some struggles, but you see the new Contradas of the world, the very athletic third baseman who could also drive the ball, and he's going to get his doubles, get his home runs as well. So I think we're definitely at times in the past at ASU we may have been scarier in terms of how far they could hit the ball, but I think we're more dynamic this year. Where Luke Keisho, they get on base and they could run. Another freshman, Kian Vu, who's filled in
Mm-hmm.
and left field at times and done a great job with ball in dirt and playing defense. So I think we're really dynamic. I definitely think it's an elite offense, and the good news is they're young, so we got a bright future. And like we talked about, in many ways, they're a year ahead of the curve, and we're going to see what we could do this year. But the future is definitely bright for what we're trying to do and get this program back to Omaha.